Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Shred and Soul.
I'm Shred, a.k.a. Kevin Wood.
And I'm Soul, a.k.a. Wind Tears.
Today we're going to have Dan McDonald. Yeah. And we're going to interview him. Dan was the bass player in the Fire Ants. It was the band that I had with Chad Channing and my brother Brian. And he was also the bass player for Devilhead, the band that I formed after Fire Ants. He played on the first album.
And he was in Methodist,
yes.
Was it, with Chad Channing as well?
Methodist, yeah. He was very busy in the music scene in Seattle. We'll talk about that. And then another aspect of his life, which is very important and very fascinating.
Yes, is he is a Nordic priest. He's very well versed and a practitioner and leader in the Norse traditions, and has a lot of interesting things to say. And of course, you can imagine that I really like talking to him about some of our experiences in earth-based traditions and in shamanic practices as well, because you could call him a Nordic shaman.
A Nordic shaman.
A Nordic shaman. And so I guess that's enough to let you guys know who he is, and let's go.
Okay, let's roll the interview.
Good morning, Dan. It's been a while.
Good morning. Yeah, it has been a while. You guys look great.
Yeah, you're looking good too.
Oh, thanks. You're healthy. That's a good thing.
We're healthy.
We're healthy, and I trust that you are as well.
I am. Yeah.
I see you still have your old Vantage up on the wall.
Oh, yeah. Here, there's the Vantage. This is weird to do. There it is. There's the Vantage, my acoustic, and my Steve Vai. I still have 2 more guitars that are I'm working on. I saved Stevens Stringed Instruments. For those who don't know, I am a luthier, and I worked for Stevens Stringed Instruments in Seattle for 3-4 years, and he also taught me how, it was kind of a trade-off. I worked at minimum wage, and he gave me free instructions on how to repair and build guitars. And we built the Nuno Betancourt N4 by Washburn for about 2 years. And so we had to do 100 guitars a month. And it got me in a trade that got me to where I, when you're trying to be a rock star, you're not thinking, oh, I'm going to have a backup plan, because you're thinking, I'm going to be a rock star.
Right. No backup plan.
No backup plan.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I came up with a backup plan that kind of related to what I was doing. So,
which is healthy.
Yeah.
But yeah, you were in the thick of it in the late 80s and early 90s. I know I met you at Seattle Music.
Yes, you did. Yeah.
And we all went downtown Seattle to buy our gear. And haggle.
Yeah, that was a really important opportunity for me. In '84, I started. I was offered a job at Guitars, Etc. Do you remember that place?
Remember it.
Yeah, it actually used to be Guitar Center in Seattle, and this other guy bought it and called it Guitars, Etc. And actually, Duff McKagan worked there. Nikki Sixx stole a Les Paul off the wall from there. Everybody either worked there or went through there, but it was the largest music store, I think, at the time. And
definitely the place to go. I remember going in there and I bought a 75 Strat there, and I bought a Marshall that I still have.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I got still over here. I got my PA system. I still got my PV Mega Bass that I bought because I worked there. I established my first credit. I mean, that store, working at those stores brought so much to me, and that's where I met Steve Davies of Stevens Stringed Instruments, and got me in manufacturing. And when I threw in the towel from really performing professionally, I went into manufacturing in aerospace, and it created a career that I loved, and set me up so I could raise my family. And, that was important, and it got me to where I am today. Yeah.
Tell us about your music career.
Well, so musically, and Kevin probably has heard some of this before, but he has a very illustrious career too. But I started out coming out of high school. Let's start with high school. I graduated from Bellevue Christian School, and one of my graduating class members was a gentleman named Mark McLaughlin, also known as Mark Arm of Mudhoney. So, and that's we both kind of graduated from there, from this evangelical Christian school. And he went into the punk vein, and I kind of just went into whatever the music was in Seattle, and just got involved. I was very involved with a lot of the Capitol Hill people. Paisley Sin, remember that name? Can't remember. Like Jack and Dino knew a lot of these people. I can sit and talk with Jack and Dino for hours about the music scene, being in the music store, knowing everybody. But yeah, just kind of journey my way through playing in bands. Started playing in bands. I used to play drums when I was in middle school and stuff, so I worked my way up and just picked up instruments and played them and had fun. And but I wanted to be a rock star. That was bottom line. And
well, when we first met, I came from a punk background, but I definitely want to move more into blues rock. And that kind of a vibe. And you and I just hit it off immediately. Were you?
Oh yeah, we did. I mean, when I met you, Kevin, it was like instant, like it was like almost like we were brothers. It was like it was really cool, and we really related on a music level too. So, and I think we've kept that vibe. We don't talk much, but we just relate so well.
Yeah.
And I like that.
Fit. And yeah, we had a great time in Fire Ants. I mean, we really got close. I mean, we were good, good locally, but we had that pinnacle where it was almost going to go over the top. And
it was. It's very, very intense. And I've never played Green Eyed Lady with anybody else. Remember that?
I remember that.
But I mean, it was really cool the way it wasn't just, we'd get together for rehearsals. We would call each other on the phone. We'd talk about all kinds of stuff, the stuff we're going through in life, our personal life. We were very, very tied to that. And it was, an important relationship, I think.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you and I definitely, and Chad, and of course Brian too. We were all
Chad too, yeah.
And we all could really share what we were going through, and we were like brothers in.
Oh yeah,
It was really fun and rewarding.
Brian used to come to our house early, like an hour or two before rehearsal, and I'd go down there and hang out with him, and he'd ride the ferry with me. We'd have all kinds of conversations, and Chad, I invited in when I started my guitar repair business. I brought him into the fold. He didn't want money. He wanted to learn how to, set up guitars, and we used his Land Cruiser to cruise around, and we did all the stores in Kitsap County there, and it was pretty cool. We had good times, and of course we were playing music too, and that was important. You taught me a lot about more of a metal punk side of things, and by the way, I want to take a moment to hail Ozzy Osbourne.
Ozzy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a beautiful soul he is. he, I, you sit down and just read the lyrics of Crazy Train, and it almost makes you cry, and just go, this man was so insightful. We love to make fun of him, Sharon and all that, but he was really insightful and a beautiful soul,
Agreed.
So, yep, for sure.
There's not going to be another guy like him ever. He was really one of a kind.
And did you see how many of his contemporaries were reaching out and to Sharon and to the press and talking about him? And people like Elton John. It's like Elton John and Ozzy, but he acknowledged him and said this guy was a fantastic human being. And it's like, yeah, he really was.
Prince of Darkness, right?
Right? Yeah. Good marketing.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of smoke and mirrors, of course,
Of course.
Part of show business.
Yeah, we could have gone down that vein.
Yeah, we almost did. I mean, to a point, we all did. But, it was really also really handy having you being a luthier, because you were my go-to guy as far as, hey, I've got this problem. My guitar won't stay in tune, and you'd steer me right. I still actually took some of your advice the other day and put a little drop of super glue in the nut of my old Les Paul.
Absolutely.
It was too low.
Yeah, for sure. Remember your Explorer? Do you still have the black Explorer?
I still have the black Explorer, and and you put that nice coat of paint on it, and I had to rub it out. That was the deal. I bought it by hand, and it's still hanging. I still play it every once in a while.
Oh, cool! Right on.
Yeah. And then remember that that SG that you put back together for me, and the headstock had been broken off. My son Casper knocked it over. This is the second time it broke. The first time I threw it, I was on stage. And I threw it up and missed it coming down, and it hit the stage and broke.
Oh my!
You mentioned the Paisley Sin, right? One of the Paisley Sin guys said, "Hey, I'll fix it for you," and he put it back together. But it's still, you could see the cracks and everything.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, my son knocked it over, broke the headstock off, and then you repaired it, and you could never tell. It was so perfect.
Yeah. It's actually a really simple repair. You just got to have the tools to do it right. But fortunately, I had the whole Stevens shop, so that was very convenient. Yeah, remember I built Chad that guitar,
that Fender Bullet.
He had the Fender Bullet, or I did something to it. Did I refinish it or something?
Something like you redid the whole thing. Yeah. I remember that.
That was crazy.
Eyes flashing back to back in the day.
It's fun, and it's a valuable time. But you got to live in the time too. But we learn from our past, and we have good memories of the past, and that's good. That's special to have that.
One in particular comes up. This is like way later. You and I sort of went our separate ways. I ended up moving down to New Mexico.
House.
And I remember coming up to retrieve some of my personal effects and tie up some loose ends. You were at your house. You had a gathering, and we were drinking mead, and we were doing percussive things. And I ended up collaborating with you on a musical product that you were doing in relation to your Norse theology, which you were, it was a surprise to me actually at the time that you were so heavily into that. So how did that all come about?
Yeah, that was really cool that you were able to participate in that. I don't remember if you remember, the guy that was there was Troy Weishart. He was our leader, kind of our lead. It's called a Godi. It's a community leader, more than just a priest. It was like, that's an Icelandic term, but great man. And he had a zither. I don't know if you remember the zither, but a little kind of like, looks like an auto harp in a way.
Yeah.
but he had that, and we were playing around with that. But yeah, I remember that recording. I still have a file of it, and it was cool. I did another one honoring the goddess Freya, where I played all the instruments on it, and it turned out really good, and it's gotten a ton of hits on YouTube. And then, yeah.
We need to, send us a link, and we'll post it up there to, get some more exposure.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We have it's called Volgrind, which is in Icelandic or Old Norse means the gates to Valhalla.
Oh, okay.
And my son Will, my oldest boy, you met him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's actually a pretty darn good guitar player. Both my sons play guitar pretty well. By the way, you should know this. My wife is a pianist and flautist, and when she was younger, she was accepted to Juilliard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so she's like a musician supremo, but she didn't want to be. That was all parental pressured learning of music. She got really good, but she was, you can walk away from something when someone's pressuring you that much where you're just going, okay, I'm done.
It wasn't because she wanted to be a rock star.
No. No. Yeah, she kind of hears my past. I talked to her about it. She's never been around anyone that was like in a rock scene or anything. So she was like, yeah, back then we wouldn't have gotten along. But we do very much now.
You're one of the people that I met through Kevin, and I remember when he went to your house and you gave him a bottle of mead, and he brought it back. Do you remember?
Mm-hmm.
To Taos. It's like, who is this guy? Makes mead, and who is he? And he told me, and I just thought, I already like this guy. He's someone who's in the shamanic world, in the Norse world. The Norse world and the Celtic world are so similar in a lot of ways, just earth-based shamanic traditions. And,
yes, indeed. Yeah.
And I remember meeting you and just feeling that. And it's in your soul. It's in every piece of you. And I'd love if you would maybe share, because I think a lot of people don't understand that, Celtic or Nordic traditions, the word shamanism is a word that is often, people are reluctant to use, but it's totally appropriate in these traditions because they are shamanic. And I know that the ritual is so important to me, and it's very much a part of your world, and gathering, with your community and doing ritual and tapping into the magic and the energy and the powers. So can you maybe, if you're willing, share about that?
At first, I want to say that I can feel that in you too. I believe in shamanism. You don't go to a school. There are schools, but I feel you're just born with it. And it's being able to look within and start connecting with whom you really are on the inside, and the energies of the earth, and being connected to that. And if you can open up to that connection. My wife's son has a very interesting term for this, is people who are connected are gems. And a lot of times there's people who are broken or shattered gems, just because life can do that to a person, and experiences and whatnot. But we've had many conversations about that kind of thing. So long ago, not that long ago, around 2000, I think it was 2000, my then wife, Serena, was very much, we already had our first son, and she very much wanted a spirituality in our lives. And we joined a Unitarian church, and, I was running sound for him. And I was so agnostic. I had such a bad experience with Christianity, spirituality, but I knew I had something. I knew there was something. I always knew there was something, but that just wasn't it. And so she went to this like a 3-day, 4-day ritual workshop thing out on the East Coast in Western Massachusetts, up in the Berkshire Mountains. Great group out there called Earth Spirit. And she went out there, and for some reason I was like, whatever, I just wasn't that interested. But she went, and they did a trance work. So she joined the Norse group. There was different groups, and she came back and said, "You've got to do this." I was like, okay, whatever. So the next year I did go out, and she didn't even join me. She said, signed you up for the Norse group. And the first day, and I'd never done any kind of meditation or trance work or anything. And I got the first one. I went, and I connected to it. And I recognized that I was able to travel and to see things. And I was just blown away. I was like, where did this come from? I guess I always had it, is the feeling I get. And I was awakened, if you will.
Yeah.
And I actually lead meditations and do trance work now. And I think it's important to be able to connect to these things if you have that, I don't know. That's the great thing. There's always mysteries. We don't know everything about it, but I know that I have it, you have it. And so it's never left me. I was going to show you something. I'm going to lift this up and see if I can turn this around. And look at all that mead.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That's a lot of mead.
I wish I was there to have some.
Your door's always open, man. Door's always open. We've entered contests. I work with my wife's daughter. She's 34, but she joined our kindred in Washington. She was getting her master's at Evergreen State, and she came out and joined our kindred. And she right away just was fascinated with the whole world of making mead. And so I began teaching her. Now she's a master, man. She kind of I was making mead, and I'd just do it, without any notes or anything. And she goes, "You need to take notes. You can start writing your recipes down." Because I have what we call Hades Curse, which is with pomegranate.
Wow.
Got maple mead. I've got mushroom mead, made with shiitake mushrooms. I've got several. Oh, and I've got Tupelo honey mead.
Wow. That's healing.
Yeah, that's expensive, Tupelo honey, and it was from Georgia.
Wow.
And then she made a bochet, which is like a caramel. So she, when you're making a caramel, you kind of burn the sugar, if you will. And so she was in the kitchen for hours trying to get the honey to burn like caramel and capture that flavor. But we have so many different types of meads. That's just a small. You saw the fermenting rack, but we have the mead chamber down in the garage, and that's.
Do you have any tutorials online of showing people how to make mead?
No, but we are going to do that. We went and did a workshop in Northern California. We were out there, Brownsville area.
Oh, that's
there were some people there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We somewhere in that area. That just name sticks in my head because I think of the Monkey song, Last Train to Clarksville. But anyway, there was a contest and tasting and workshop, and we taught a workshop on it, and we actually have the Heathen's Guide to Making Mead. So, and we have that on file too. But it was a lot of, here we're talking about our spiritual stuff. I don't know if you can see this. I get the camera right. Oh, that's me.
Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
So this is my bowlie. This is where mead is put in, and I have a sprig from a tree, and we sprinkle when we do a blessing in circle. And it's called a bloat, which in Old Norse means to sprinkle. And these are runes in here. And I have the mother rune here. We set this up, and that's when I do trance work. I set that up with candles and stuff. And I have I don't know if that's my crow staff.
Yeah, that's wonderful. How do you, so you're leading me right into that question, how do you incorporate this into your life in a very personal, significant way? And I mean as deeply as you can answer that. You know, people ask me that, and, you know, you're doing a ritual or you're chanting or this and that, but it's deeper than that in terms of how that impacts even the simplest moment of my life.
Absolutely.
I perceive how I move. It may look normal, but it's not normal in here, or it's not typical in here. So how is it for you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, for me, I mean, leading rituals and leading a group is external, very external. For me personally, I had to untrain myself from Western Christian thought and mannerisms and society and all of that to thinking more of an earth connection. I mean, everything has a spirit in nature. And that's something in shamanism. Well, shamanism, to begin, you have to, I guess, for lack of a better term, heal yourself. You have to go inside yourself. Shamanism is healing. It's about healing, I think. And it's magic. It's drawing on the energies of earth, the plants, the animals, rocks, minerals, things like that. And I work with runes, and runes have symbolically draw energies out. Each rune symbolizes a type of energy. And I spent 2.5 years in deep trance work with the Elder Futhark runes, and chanting and singing them and going into trance and journaling while I was, after I was done, and writing it all down. And these things brought about just a very deep spiritual strength and opened me up to worlds, and I, lack of anything else, I've been through different portals. I've, out of body experiences, that they would call them. I certainly have had that. I've seen things that just are mind blowing, And one of the first things I did when I was working with the runes is I had this Kevin remembers that little yellow house I had in Suquamish. I had that little room where I had my rehearsal, and that's where I did my trance work. It was kind of my little music studio, and I had 3 candles, Odin, Vili, Ve. Odin being thought, and Vili is the use and force of will, and Ve is that which is holy. So Odin, Vili, Ve is Odin, Vili his brother, and Ve his brother. It's all in the Old Norse lore. This is all in there, and I've read the lore through and through, and I know it was written later, and in the 1100s and all that, but they got it from somewhere.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful it was written down by the man that did it. He did it to preserve it because he knew Christianity. They were destroying all the information.
Yeah.
We lost a lot of Celtic information.
Yeah. All the earth-based pagan shamanic information around the world, in a sense, when the Christians came in, was covered and became illegal, and then they laid over Christian holidays or holy days over our earth-based cyclical sort of traditions and rituals. And there's
absolutely,
in what you're saying, and that's one of the things I think you find in the original. I won't even call it religions, the original knowledge, that was experienced here.
Good, well put.
Before these other powers came in and made it dangerous to practice them, was that sense of working with other dimensions, going through portals, not seeing this as the only reality and knowing this is actually one of the most minimal realities, but aligning with the energies of deities and elementals and different layers of consciousness, as you just described. The gods represent consciousness, different aspects, different layers, and working together with that. So another personal question. Knowing what you know, and I don't just mean here, I mean here and in your soul, especially today, how do you move in this world which doesn't acknowledge in the consensus collective reality, doesn't necessarily acknowledge what you see and what you feel, doesn't support that, and if anything makes it very challenging outside of your community, being in the world? How the heck do you manage, period?
Well, I know you're an intuitive, and I know this because I live with intuitives. My intuitive is a little different, but to answer your question, I think in what I've learned from the world of intuitives, and how that being intuitive means you're receptive. You don't just project energy, you receive it, and you go to a concert. What do? You create a bubble, right? You have to shut that stuff off because it'll just freak you out, really, with all that energy, all the people, all the energy going down into the city. And you feel a great relief when you're up in the mountains, in the forest. It's like, oh, I can take my bubble down. It's a really big day, and that's a part of it. I have learned. I'm in this high school that I work at. I have about an hour that I'm there with the kids, and I'm telling you, there's 800 teenagers. That energy is.
I bet
it's intense. It's intense. They have intense energy, and my wife she works there too with me now, and she has a really hard time with that energy, and it's exhausting. We're only there for an hour with it, and then it's gone. And I'm going to get in. The paranormal thing will come later, but I'll tell you about that in a bit. But so the other side of this is I'm going to say something about electricity in our world of electronics. You asked about maneuvering. It's not just about the people, the energies. And in today's world, we have so much anger, and there's days I can just sense it, and it brings me down. I don't want people to be angry, and I've never felt it like this. And I hope and pray that we can find a way out of it, find a way around it, or calm down, and I think a lot of it has to do with electronics, electricity, and then the devices that we have that are feeding into our brains. We're older. We didn't have it as strong. Our grandparents probably went, well, we never even had that. What we had, just TV and radio. And now we're being in this influence we have of electronics, of social media and all. It's just feeding this crap into us. And our children are getting it. And it's causing such a hard thing. So how does that affect me? I have to get away. I have a special place here. Wherever I live, I always have a special place I go to. It's like having a grove, if you will. A special place where it just feels good. The energy from trees or plants or the rocks or whatever feed me, and I feel it, and it's okay. I can be okay, and I have a place called Guardian Hill, and it's in the Pike Forest up here. We live at 9,000 feet in the Rockies, and during the COVID lockdown, we just went out in the mountains. That was safe. to me. I mean, I felt safe doing that. So we found this loop trail that we did, and there was this hill we would walk by, and we always felt watched. We felt a sense something was there. And out of the corner of my eye, I would see this kind of a movement, and I was going, is that Bigfoot? Do we got Squatch up there?
Well, you do.
Well, that's another story we could go into. But I sensed a being, and finally, through doing some trance work up there, actually, we decided to go up on this hill where we were being watched from. We'd never gone up it. So we're kind of like, well, maybe we'll get there someday. And you should never avoid something like, if something's calling to you, go to it, And so we finally were walking up there, and we both just felt pressure on our chest and got dizzy, and it was like, oh my God. And I look at her, I go, what is this? Is it spirits? I know that. And she goes, it's a portal. There's a portal up there. And I was like, you got to be kidding. I guess that makes sense. So we worked our way up there, and these huge rocks that were set up like they were altars were up on top. And there was a fire had gone through there like 15 years ago. And you're familiar with the mountains here, I'm sure. Yeah. Not like Washington, the forest doesn't recover that quickly here. Pine trees don't regrow that quickly. So there was one standing Douglas fir that survived. That's at the top, and that's significant to me because there's a poem from the Poetic Eddas that relates. It's super important to me. It's a very important.
Do you have it memorized?
Oh, absolutely.
Would you share?
Yeah. So this comes from the Havamal, which is the words of the High One, Odin. And it's about him finding the runes. And it goes, I know that I hung upon a windswept tree all of nights 9, wounded by the spear given unto Odin, myself to myself. And on that tree, which no one knows where the roots run, they brought me no bread nor drinking horn. And looking down, I took up the runes. Screaming, I took them. And then I fell back whence I came. So it's a shamanic journey. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people go, oh, that's like Christ hanging on the tree, is on the cross. It's like, oh, no. So 9 is a very important number to many ancient peoples. But he sacrificed himself. He hung on a tree and impaled himself with a spear so he would die. And in that moment of death was a transition. And he saw the runes, which was so much energy and information that he screamed in pain. It was painful to receive the runes. And then he had them. That's
really powerful.
Yeah.
And that's what's evoked when you're up there with that one Douglas fir.
Yeah. I can't even tell you the power of it. I've taken very few people to the top of that mountain. And my wife and her son have been up there with me when I do this, and I go up and I'm literally screaming that poem, and I'm holding on to the tree. And before we even get to the top, winds start blowing. And I swear when I start doing that, it's almost like hurricane force. The winds just are blowing. And then I know to go to my place with the rock, where the big stones are. And I set up, because I usually go up there with intent. You don't just go and play with that. I mean, I suppose you could to try to see if you get knowledge or something, but I work with weather, and I work with the energy of the land for the benefit of the land. As you know, this is a place that could burn, and fire is important for the mountains, but I try to delay it a little and ask for rains. I ask for snows. It's the only thing I go up there for. And I just talk to the guardian, as I call him, and it's a spirit that lives in dead trees. I've seen him, and it's like I've met the guardian now, and I'm cautious of him or her. Maybe there is no sex, I don't know, but I'm cautious of it, and I just say I'm here, and I thank it. I always pour a little mead on the ground because I made the mead, so I feel it's an offering of something I made and give to it, and it's I walk away from that just like it's like it feels so intense. It's not really good or bad or anything. It's just the energy. The exchange.
Well, and talk about electricity. I mean, just the current of that is on such a different energetic wavelength that
Absolutely.
It's very powerful. You talk about a lot of Hindu traditions will talk about self-combustion. When people, the kundalini, the energy moving through, whatever you want to call it, there's an energy currency that you described. And when it comes through, sometimes that, wattage, if you would, is so powerful, you can burn up. And
agreed.
Channel that. And I think that's part of what you do is you channel that energy through you and around you and not just transmit, but also receive. And it's something that, like you said, you don't necessarily go up there and play. You go up there with intent. And I think that when someone is truly working with shamanic levels and worlds, that there's a reverence for that. And you take it very seriously, even though it's full of joy and lighthearted laughter, but it's working with electricity and current.
Yes. And I think you've heard of the ley lines.
Yeah.
And that's real. I think there's a vein of it close to here, and I don't think it hits exactly. There's one in Colorado, but I think it's northwest of here. There's some in Washington. There's they intersect, and there's something unique too about the northern hemisphere. Certain things grow, certain things don't grow, but it's the northern hemisphere has a very interesting. I'm not saying the southern doesn't, because it certainly does too. I've never been there. I've been to French Polynesia once.
Nice.
Very interesting place. So I think the ley lines that come through here are very powerful. These mountains are powerful.
Yeah.
Mountain ranges in general have a lot of interesting spirits and energies, and there's a reason why miners and people digging tunnels and stuff. That's not good.
We'll talk about paranormal. When I lived in New Mexico, one of the things that was very much a part of the Native American knowledge there, and also the knowledge of people who came after, were the ley lines and where they cross, and they go right through Taos, and you can see, you can look at it. Grid, and they go right up through Colorado and crisscross all through there, and there's some significant portals and ley lines right through that area, and the mountains. And, the peoples who live beneath the mountain, or the people from other worlds who come in and out from under the mountain. So it's a very powerful area for a lot of reasons. And those mountains really hold that.
They do. I know that there's also a history with those that live down under. I have to admit, long ago, I stopped doing all the drugs and everything, but when I was in my 19, 20, 21, I did a lot of psychedelic, acid and mushrooms. And then I didn't do it again. Maybe that's kind of why I'm a little loopy. But we my wife's son got some mushrooms, and he feels a very strong, and this guy's super connected. I mean, he looks like Thor too. He's like 6'4", long reddish blonde hair with a big red beard, and but he is connected, and he wanted to do a trip up at Kenosha Pass, which is the closest pass to us here. It's at 10,000 feet, and there's certainly something going on there. There's definitely something going on. One of the largest aspen forests is there, and as you know, the aspen are one organism. And then there's this, in the forest, you see all the trees, and there's a hole in the middle of them, and there's one tree in the middle of that hole, and it is a bristlecone pine.
Ah, ancient trees.
Yeah, an ancient tree. And it actually comes out of the ground as one trunk, but then it breaks off into three. I had my suspicions about it. Again, it's like, it's a little bit of a hike, and when you're at 10,000 feet, it's it's hard to get to, but I can get there. We did a mushroom trip. It was a little more than I probably wanted, so I got pretty high. And at one point, I laid down. We were going up, and I just kept getting higher and higher, and I laid down. And this was like just a couple of years ago. I laid down. I said, just got to lay down and let some of this work its way through. I just don't want to walk anymore. And so he sat down, and I laid down, and I had this huge vision of what I thought was the spirit of the mother of the aspens, the spirit mother of the aspens. And it was a type of dragon that was purple, black, and white. And it was a her. It was very plainly a she. And she was intense. And she just let me see her. There really wasn't a lot of information other than she just let me see her. She saw me. She knew I was there. She let me see her. And that kind of took me a minute to get over, because that was a lot. And then we started seeing guardian spirits all over. They were dead trees within the aspen that were glowing blue. Everything else looked normal. They're just these trees were dead, standing trees that were glowing blue. And that was kind of interesting. And we kept working our way up, and he was trying to get some answers about what's underneath. Something's underneath. So we made it to the tree, to the bristlecone. And I right away just started going, okay, we're going down below. And I narrated this whole thing, and we saw this whole world under there, and there were passages and stuff. And so I think it helped him understand some of it, but there were some interesting, very ancient, it was almost like carvings and statues of things that were under there. And the tunnels were, it wasn't like a cave. It was like they were triangle shaped tunnels. Very fascinating.
We could go on for hours, and we've got, could go maybe 5 more minutes, and we
do
a part 2, because there's so much. We'll just go deeper and deeper that I want to ask you and share experiences and how we see them. But I think that, those below, those above, those all around, those right here amongst us, the layers and levels of reality are, a different spectrum, a different layer, portals into those, all those things we can talk about. And it takes a shamanic visionary sense to be able to perceive them. Even as we're sitting here, I know we're surrounded by others here that may see me, may not, but layers of, planes and dimensions of reality that intersect and overlap. And I'd love to talk to you more about that. Aren't too many others I can talk to about some of these things. And it's something.
Yeah, it's hard to find people to talk about this to, but I feel comfortable doing that.
And now it'll go out into the world or share. Here's what you're sharing to others besides us.
Yeah.
I really appreciate these conversations and that you're willing to come on and talk about all of these things, because it's I was going to say it's where our future is, but that's really not accurate, because the future's right here, the past is right here. It's all overlaid in one moment. But I think that given the state of affairs on the planet and the division and the polarities and the lack of vision, that returning to these truths and returning to the vision on this level is what will carry us forward. I think our survival depends on the awakening.
We have to try to teach, and to those who will listen.
Yeah.
And that is, that I think was something even Christ was trying to do, if in fact he did exist. But if he did exist, I think he was almost like a shaman. And the scripture kind of ruins it for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
and it was another whole conversation for us, is talking about all of the tablets being discovered and the information being discovered. And there's so many things I want to talk about that we can't hear. But let's set up something for the future a little ways down the road. Where we can dive into so many things I'd like to talk to you about.
Yeah, we still wanted to talk about the Norns.
Oh gosh. Well, next time, make a list.
Next time.
I mean, my mind right now is making a list already.
All right, cool.
Anything you want to add before?
No, it was really a treat for me to, like you said, there's so much to do, but I think it was really a treat to talk about the music with, and Kevin, I'm really happy that you two are, and Wayne, you both are together, and this is really cool what you're doing. And
thank you.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
And it goes back to you too, Dan. I mean, you've got a nice situation out there in Colorado, and we've talked on the phone numerous times, and it sounds like you're in a really good space now.
Yeah. Our door's always open. You want to come out and visit?
Thank you.
Absolutely, and same here.
Same here. We'll show you
I would take you
redwoods.
Yes, you live in the beautiful redwoods, and the energies and spirits there, the trees. Oh my God, the history, the knowledge they have. Oh my God, you'd have to pull me out of there, man. I would. I talk to trees a lot.
Yeah, the trees. I mean, the grandmothers and grandfathers and what they share, and just that resonance that they have is very calming and very beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yeah.
Too, when you find a very old one, you can touch it and feel tingling, and even before the man hits it, it's like, wow, there's so much energy here.
Absolutely, yeah, and the knowledge they have. Trees are big memory holders. They hold a lot of memory, and they're very slow. When Tolkien wrote about Treebeard and the Ents and about how slow they do things, it's like Tolkien was connected. Mm-hmm. You can't tell me he wasn't.
No, absolutely. Had to have been.
Yeah. Well,
we appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah, I thank you for the invite. I'm very honored.
Yeah, we'll definitely set it up again. So
we have a lot of discussing to do on this topic, and I'm really looking forward to diving in deeper.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating.
Me too. Yeah, this is great.
Yeah,
I feel good. I got a good feeling inside. It feels good to have done this.
Yeah. And in old culture traditions, merry meet, merry part, and merry meet again.
Well, that was fascinating.
Really, very.
It was great catching up, too, with Dan.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've seen him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the subjects that we covered, equally fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to have him on again. We only scratched the surface of what we can talk about with Dan.
Yeah, There's a lot of deep conversations waiting to happen about music. After we got off, we were just saying goodbye to him. And of course, more stuff about the Seattle scene came up. So we'll share those in another episode. And then we had some really great esoteric conversations about reality and whether this is a simulation. So we will definitely have him back on very soon while this conversation's fresh, and continue on with even deeper, more mystical, amazing conversations about life, shamanism, and the Seattle music scene.
Yeah. Thanks again, Dan. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, and thank you all for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Remember, please, to subscribe. I've noticed that some of you have not had your aunts and uncles and grandparents and children subscribe to our channel, and I really am encouraging you to do that. So as a family activity, you could sit and listen to our episodes and then discuss afterwards, right? The art, as if we were back in the day when we watched television or listened to radio and then discussed it with our family members. So let's flash back, not only with Malfunction, but a way of life of listening to a podcast and discussing it with our family, and have them subscribe. Okay?
Sounds like a plan.
Catch you later.
Bye.